When thinking about leadership in digital learning, I think it's essential to start by breaking down and considering the different technologies that we may see in our classrooms. So to start with Chromebooks and laptops, at my school, every student is assigned a Chromebook and every teacher is assigned a Chromebook as well. So there's a big technology learning curve with that, just teaching them how to use laptop, how to use the Chromebook, and what all the different functions do. iPads and tablets. iPads have become kind of secondary to the Chromebooks, but we still use them in some settings, more for collaborative, separate setting group work. Smartboards. I have a smartboard in my classroom and I'm able to use it for interactive learning and for students to actually come up and engage in their learning and do some hands-on stuff. Online apps with the Chromebooks and the iPads and all the computers around campus, we're able to really access any app that we want. Within reason, of course, there's different apps that have subscriptions and stuff, but generally we are able to access apps like iReady, Delta Math, and different formative tracking, data tracking apps like that. And then makerspace technology like 3D printers and virtual reality sets. I know my school just got a grant to get virtual reality headsets, so that's something that the 8th grade teachers are going to have to be trained on, teaching the students how to use before we come back to school in August. So super excited for that. But with all of this different technology going on, it poses us the question, how can I keep up? So there's a lot of different avenues of learning and different pots that we can have our hands in when it comes to classroom facilitation. And it kind of is overwhelming when you think about it and makes us question how we can keep up. But as teachers, we have to be learners first, and we have to take initiative and take accountability for our development of our practice. Which brings me to the North Carolina digital competency that I picked. The standard I chose was take initiative with own professional growth to inform practice, which really breaks down and translate to being accountable and being responsible for making sure that you're staying informed and constantly redefining and updating your practice when it comes to using technology in the classroom. So the first way that I could take initiative and develop my practice of technology in the classroom is to take every professional development opportunity that is given to me. And that may sound very bleak, and it may remind you of the picture of just meetings and practicing things and taking in information. And that's one part of it. So workshops are one part of it. You can do I could do in-person workshops or online workshops. And these could be sequenced out. So they could be a series of workshops. Maybe I attend one every 2 weeks. Maybe I attend one every week. Maybe I attend one every quarter. Or it could be a single session workshop where I just go for the day and kind of expand my knowledge of different technological resources that I could use in my classroom. I could also take advantage of the professional development that observations offer. So I, especially this year as a first-year teacher, have definitely gotten comfortable with my administration and asking them to kind of sit in on a lesson if I'm doing something new, just so that they're there in case anything goes wrong, or so that they can give me notes and advice afterwards of things that I could do different or redefine or do better. So constantly just maybe seeking or even participating in your normal semester professional development observations, or even asking a mentor or a co-teacher to sit in on a lesson and say, hey, could you just sit in on this? I'm trying something new. I'd like your feedback. I think that's really valuable. And then, of course, using my beginning teacher network. So the different teachers around the county who are also beginning teachers all attend different workshops, and we're kind of staggered in what we're able to do. But definitely making sure I'm communicating with my team from the different middle schools around the county and getting the resources that they have experienced and practiced and worked with, and use them to my advantage and try and practice them in my own classroom. Another way that I would develop my knowledge for digital competencies and take initiative for doing so is using media as a tool for information. So to start with, looking at the news, a technological magazine that I really like is EdTech. And I'm actually subscribed to their newsletter. It comes out weekly, and it just features different educational resources that you could use that are online, and it even has lesson plans that you can go to. But if you go like to Classroom over here, you can really learn how to use technology in the classroom, and then provides blended learning. It bases it off curriculum. It goes down to North Carolina curriculum. You can look at digital content, different things. I've gotten actually images off that to show my class a few times. And then it just teaches you different things that you can do to engage your students and make lessons that are productive and technologically driven. Another way I'll use media as a tool for information is social media. So just making sure that throughout the year and throughout the summer, I'm constantly engaging in productive use of social media. So following people on Twitter, that have the same interests as me and are just as driven to develop their classroom and develop their knowledge. This link isn't working, but it's Susan Athey. She's a fellow teacher in the Midwest. And when the COVID thing first broke out, she asked Twitter if there were any suggestions for just quick virtual learning tips, things that she can do as a more seasoned teacher to develop her use of digital tools. And this thread has like 35 responses, and she got some really good resources in the thread. So just making sure I'm keeping up with things like that and using my social media as productively as I can in terms of my classroom. And then something I've gotten into recently, hopefully this link works, is listening to podcasts. So the Council for Exceptional Children, which I am an EC teacher, they put out a podcast every month called Teaching Exceptionally, and it just gives some tips on everything in the classroom, really, from talking to parents to managing technology to managing stress to classroom management. So just listening to this podcast and taking in some of the things that they have to say about technology and making sure that I'm applying them to my classroom, as well as seeking out other podcasts that could be potentially valuable. Of course, I would practice. So any resource I find, I would try it in my classroom and then get feedback. I feel like education is a team effort, and feedback is really important because what works for some may not work for all. When I say feedback, I do mean from administrators, fellow coworkers, but I'm really emphasizing feedback from students. So just making sure that they're kind of in the driver's seat with you for their education and saying, hey, Ms. Clayton, this isn't working, or I don't really understand that, or I'm stuck here. So getting the feedback from your students about how you use technology in the classroom, how it's engaging them, how it's working for them, and how you maybe could use it differently next time or use it better next time. So some of the goals that I have for improving my practice. So my first goal is to use technology in my classroom 4 out of 5 instructional days. I am teaching summer school right now, and I'm kind of boycotting technology just because of the virtual year we've had, but I feel like I know it's valuable. So I want to use it most of the week, not during the whole class, but making sure that I'm using it 4 out of the 5 instructional days for at least 30 minutes out of the hour. Our year is broken up into 9 weeks. So each 9 weeks, I would be able to find and implement an engaging and productive activity that facilitates learning with the use of technology 2 times. And I limit myself to 2 times just because I am still a new teacher and I'm still learning the ropes to things. But I would like to make my classroom and my instruction as engaging as possible, not to mention develop my own practice and my own knowledge of technology. So I think it would be valuable for me to research and use 2 new technologies every quarter and just get used to doing that and get into the habit of doing that. That would definitely keep me updated on my technological resources that are out there. And the third goal I have for improving my practice is to give my students suggestion opportunities. So what I kind of want to, my idea for this is to implement next year after we use a new technology in class, having my students fill out an anonymous form, maybe on Google Forms, that really assesses the effectiveness of the technology and the engagement if it either increased or decreased engagement in the classroom, and maybe any suggestions, just free wrote suggestions that they have for my use of it in the future. Also, I'd like to do this for my team. I mentioned earlier that I value observations, and I think that giving my team a place and a opportunity to give me suggestions and advice would be valuable on my end, and end up benefiting me in the long run, because then I would be able to be a better teacher and continually take initiative for developing my teaching practice.